listening to the Mark Petroni radio program, heard exclusively on News Talk Saga 960.
And we're back with more on News Talk Saga 960. So very glad you could join us on the Mark Petroni Show. We have Miles Christen on the line, coming to us from the great state of Wisconsin, not far from the city of Madison, which is a hub for crime in that state right now, along with Milwaukee. But Miles wants to talk about President Biden's ongoing scandal involving documents. I mean, they went after Trump big time because of classified or supposedly classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. They SWAT teamed the guy, but now we're up to the third location now where Biden had documents, classified documents, including in his garage. Like, he made a big presentation of the fact that he also had his Corvette in there, his 1972 Corvette, beautiful car, in a locked garage. And so you don't have to worry, because if anybody's going to steal anything from that garage, it's probably going to be the Corvette. They're not going to bother with top secret documents. Anyway, so there's going to be a special counsel now who has been appointed to look into this. I don't entirely trust Attorney General Merrick Garland to properly probe anything that Joe Biden has done involving the alleged mishandling of classified information, but they're on it. And so what's your take on all this, Miles?
Well, even back when he was vice president, I remember when the first conflict with the Ukraine started back in 2014, and I remember hearing about his son being appointed to some company. And so there's no question that he's been using his influence as a member of the White House for, more than a decade. And so I have no doubt that when he originally left the White House, he probably kept information and used his power and his influence. And he started this, I don't know what point he started this Biden Penn Center, which is one of the places where they found the documents.
Yeah, it's a fake, it's a fake think tank, from my understanding.
Yeah, it's all of these politicians do it. The Clintons did it. They leave office, they start a foundation. I mean, I think all of these organizations and foundations are shady. I mean, I think there's serious questions about the Trump organization, obvious problems with the Clinton Foundation. I mean, I don't even know what Bush or Cheney are up to these days, but they're all, in on big schemes. And I have no doubt that Biden has done terribly corrupt things. And it just annoys me so much, because I disagree with conservatives, or I disagree with Republicans, and I sure as heck also disagree with Democrats and people on the left. And when I bring this stuff up with people on the left about, hey, look, the Democrats are also doing this terrible thing, they just ignore it, and they go back to, oh, look, but the Republicans did it. It's like, can we just believe in an equality, in a equality of justice, and that we should be equally upset with both sides if they do the same thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So the left doesn't want to know. They were all in on these documents that Trump had at Mar-a-Lago. CNN was jumping on him with both feet. But now that it's Joe Biden, when he was vice president, so he was not allowed to have these documents. And the fact that they were stored in a way that appears to have been incredibly reckless. And I mean, how many more locations now are we going to find these types of documents? I mean, there's 3 so far. I mean, it's possible that there are places that have top secret documents that once belonged to Joe Biden that we don't even know about. I mean, this could get really ugly for Joe Biden. I mean, could this finish him?
Now with a Republican-controlled Congress, there will most likely be some investigations. You can also think about the fact that Joe Biden's son, Hunter, is a huge liability and has been a huge liability for many years. And who knows what information he may have shared with Hunter. And Hunter, of course, left, laptops all over the country. And who knows? I mean, his son's we all know about his son in many ways. I mean, his son's a drug addict who, was reckless and irresponsible and did all sorts of stupid, horrible things.
Yeah, including
But,
crack, and addicted to porn and hookers. And but I mean, a lot of people are obviously, particularly interested in his dealings with the Chinese, the Ukrainians, the Russians.
So
and
if you have
10% for the big guy, and
if you have,
well,
you got
maybe-
one of the most powerful people in the world who has a family member who can easily be compromised, who also is, in the know of classified information and so forth. It's just the whole thing is it's very hypocritical when I talk to Democrats who, just they only want to criticize what the Republicans are doing, and it just when I talk to conservatives and I talk to Republicans these days, I disagree with them on a lot of issues, but they're at least able to engage in dialogue, and they don't go shooting off to saying, well, okay, but the Democrats did it too. I don't get that same mentality from conservatives, and they're able to debate and converse on a more logically based arena, whereas just every time I have a conversation with somebody on the left, and I don't even consider the left to be liberal anymore, but when I talk to people on the left, they just go off the handle into the most absurd argument possible.
So I mean, you're probably becoming less and less popular amongst your liberal friends. I mean, at some point, Miles, they're going to boot you out of their little cabal, out of their little cult. I mean, it's going to happen.
No, I mean, I'm outcasted by Democrat liberal society. I mean, as I speak, I'm driving into Madison, and in Madison we discovered that there's this like $10 million homeless facility. It's just a bunch of shacks, and that they're blowing millions of dollars on this facility where they're actually allowing people to shoot heroin, and there's been at least 2 deaths. And I filmed, you can check it out on my YouTube channel, WI Radio. I filmed the managers of this place saying that they're allowing the residents to shoot heroin in this federally taxpayer-funded facility. And I brought it to every media source in the entire city and state. None of them would touch it except for one. And when they did it, there was a whitewash. That everything in the city of Madison, everything in this left group is just so hypocritical. It's all about, profiting off nonprofits, which is, crazy in itself. And they're just, it's a horrible situation. And yet they want to pretend like they're all sunshine and rainbows and everything's going great. And meanwhile, the homeless are on the streets. There's this heroin epidemic all throughout this city. I mean, the stuff that's going on in this city is so beyond belief. You would think it's a South Park episode.
Yeah, well, I would hate to be on the streets in Wisconsin because it's pretty damn cold in the wintertime. But I do.
The cold, yeah.
I mean,
I would say the majority of the state hasn't lost its complete mind. It's mostly Madison and Milwaukee that just completely lost it. The rest of the state isn't as nuts.
I want to run something past you because I think that this all came out about the documents after Joe Biden did more than just muse about running in 2024. I mean, he was basically suggesting strongly that he would be the candidate. He has no interest in stepping down. And at that point, all of a sudden, these documents became a thing in the media and exposing him as a guy who maybe committed crimes. I think that he went off the reservation a little bit when he said he was going to run again, because the party doesn't want him running again. They know he's in an advanced state of cognitive decline. The people who are actually running the government, the Obamas of the world, those types, they don't want him anymore. And so the deep state is saying, all right, Joe, we put you in there, we installed you, and now you got to go because apparently you think you're going to be the guy in 2024 and you're not. And I think that's what happened, but I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I mean, in many ways, the president, whoever it is, as Bill Hicks would say, there's that smoky cigar-filled room of men, running the country. And normally the president answers to those people, but when you've got a guy like Biden who really doesn't know what's going on, who's kind of told what to do and say at the same time. But if he's stubborn and says, no, I want to be the candidate, I mean, nobody can stop him from running for re-election if that's what he wants to do.
I know.
And I mean, we're still
but
talking.
They can make it a lot harder for him, Miles. They can all of a sudden, release and leak all these scandals that implicate Joe. I mean, the deeper he gets, the harder it is for himself to be able to.
So the question would be then, like, who runs against him? One of the 5,000 candidates who ran against him in 2020. Some people think it might be Pete Buttigieg, who's done a terrible job running the FAA. It's just problem after problem. Kamala's not very well liked, though normally a vice president would be the person to run after a president is run. Dick Cheney was like the first vice president to not run for president in a two-term presidency in like 80 years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who they would run, but the Democratic Party has a much stronger chance if they run.
There's talk about Governor Newsom running. I've heard his name thrown around. He's terrible as a governor, but
he's scary. He looks like a villain, and I mean, he's a terrible guy. And
duh. I mean,
I don't know if we can handle any more California politicians.
Yeah, and 300,000 people left California last year, so he's not doing a good job. But it's par for the course. Okay, so how does this play out? I mean, Joe could be impeached if you believe some of the Republicans who are saying that, we've got him on our sights, not Hunter, but we're targeting Joe Biden. He's obviously up to his neck, and in all of the scandals that have now surfaced, I mean, isn't it possible that you're going to end up with President Kamala Harris, whether you like it or not?
Well, no, because one, you would need nearly every Republican in the House to vote for the impeachment. There's a rare chance you might find like 2 or 3 Democrats who are doing it because they're so far left they want to impeach Biden. There is that slim possibility, but you would need almost every Republican to vote for impeachment. So if you have, say, 30 Republicans vote against impeachment, it won't pass the House. Right. Even if it is through the House, yes, he can be impeached. But then the
Senate has to convict.
The Senate, they would have to go through the Senate, which would require, the votes they don't have. And then on top of that, Bill Clinton was impeached and brought to an impeachment trial, but won his trial.
Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't look like it's going to happen. And I don't know even if the Republicans want to go up against Joe. So if Joe wants to run again, sure, why not? He's such a terrible president. Although,
well, and the funny thing about the like more left-leaning Democrats in the Democratic Party, your AOCs and people like that, the Squad as they were known. I mean, they're they yell and they scream, but then when it comes time to actually stand up against the policies of the administration, they cave. And literally you have Representative Jayapal, who's and my own Congressman Mark Pocan, who these are the most progressive liberal U.S. Democratic Congress people, and they voted for renewing the USA Patriot Act. So, it's like when it really comes down to it, they can pretend like they're all woke and stuff, but they're still going to go along with the most Orwellian pro-war policies in the end.
Yeah, and they're the pro-war party now. The Democrats, they're all in on throwing as much money into Ukraine as humanly possible. They're just salivating over the prospect of World War III, it seems to me. I don't know. What do you think?
Oh, what I've seen in the last 20, 25 years in this country, as far as just everything flipping, where Republicans are more anti-war and Democrats are more pro-war. Democrats are more pro censorship. I mean, literally, the people that the right used to hate 20 years ago, like J.K. Rowling and Dave Chappelle, are now,
they're like conservatives.
villains of they're villains to the left.
So where are you at now? I mean, are you red pilled now? Is that what's happening?
No, I wouldn't use that term. I mean, I am a very libertarian leaning person, but I also don't like how libertarians treated COVID. There was a balance to see it where it was, one, you're dealing with something that is serious and potentially deadly, and at the same time, you don't want to give away your civil liberties.
And yet everybody out there is wearing masks still in Wisconsin, eh? Is that
And I have
right?
a buddy who lives in Vermont, and I said, "Are this many people wearing masks in Vermont?" And he goes, "No." And I mean, I was saying to you off the air, I said, if you're going to wear a mask, wear a actual medical grade N95 mask. Okay, the cloth mask, we thought maybe it would work in 2020, and it probably served, a tiny bit of purpose, but what you wanted was an N95 mask, and that's why people wore cloth masks, because they couldn't get an N95 mask. Now an N95 mask is readily available, probably for free almost anywhere, and people are still wearing their handmade cloth masks, and it's like, are you doing it to actually prevent the spread of this virus, which
No.
at this point, nearly, I mean, you gotta maybe take into consideration actually building up your immunity by, if you've already had it and being exposed to it. I mean, the vaccine served a purpose, I think, at one point, and now it's like, oh wait, you take it and it's only gonna maybe lessen the symptoms. I don't know about that part so much, but I am starting. Who was a very strong advocate of vaccines and all this stuff, I'm starting to question some of it, and I haven't taken the booster in the last year, and I'm not going to.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you, Miles. Appreciate you coming on. I hope you got some things off your chest.
Yes,
Next time you can talk about how you're doing 4 jobs and still barely able to pay your bills.
4 jobs, yep, lots of taxes, and there's a lot of new videos I've been putting out, and so check out WI Radio and Wisconsin International Radio on YouTube, and
Wisconsin
check out some of the
International
content.
Radio. All right, my friend, thank you so much. Appreciate that.
No problem.
Miles Kristen coming to us from the great state of Wisconsin. Let's take a break. Back with more on News Talk Saga 960 and the Mark Petrona Show after this.